Have you ever asked yourself, is this still good for me? You know what I mean? There are certain things we men have done most of our lives without thinking twice. But now that we're over 60, the truth is our bodies have changed, and some habits that once seemed harmless might be quietly working against us. Here's the thing. I've had men in their 60s, 70s, even 80s, sit down in my office and whisper the same question. Doc, is it still okay for me to masturbate? And let me tell you, it's more than okay, but only if you're doing it right. Most guys don't realize that a few common mistakes, things they learned when they were younger, can actually lead to problems like chronic pelvic pain, erectile dysfunction, prostate trouble, or even emotional burnout. It doesn't happen all at once, but over time, those little choices add up. So today, I'm going to walk you through the 5 biggest mistakes older men make when it comes to self-pleasure. And more importantly, I'll show you how to avoid them, so you can keep your body and mind healthy, and your sense of masculinity strong and respected. These are things most doctors won't talk about, but I will, because you deserve to feel good and stay safe. Stick with me to the end, and I'll give you some honest, practical advice that could help you stay in control of your health and your happiness. And hey, if you appreciate clear, respectful, no-nonsense health talk for men our age, feel free to subscribe. I post weekly videos just like this to help you live stronger, longer, and wiser. Hi there, I'm Dr. John, and for over 30 years, I've been working with men in their 60s, 70s, and beyond, helping them navigate the changes that come with aging and reclaim their health with confidence. I've seen it all from prostate concerns to intimacy struggles to the silent questions most men are too embarrassed to ask. But here's what I want you to know. You are not alone. And there is nothing shameful about wanting to feel good, to feel connected, or to care about your body and your well-being, even if you're well past the age of 60. In fact, one of the most misunderstood areas of senior men's health is what happens in private, specifically around self-pleasure or masturbation. Now, this isn't a locker room conversation. This is about real health, real science, and real consequences that often go unnoticed until it's too late. See, what worked for you at 25 might not be doing you any favors at 65. That's not because anything is wrong with you. It's just that your nervous system, your circulation, your hormones, all of it changes over time. And if you don't adapt, you could be silently harming your body without even realizing it. So in today's video, I'm going to reveal the 5 most common mistakes men over 60 make when it comes to masturbation. We'll talk about why they matter, how to recognize the warning signs, and most importantly, what to do instead. I'll give you tools to protect your prostate, support your sexual health, and keep your confidence strong for years to come. And I'll do it all with respect, no judgment, no lectures, no awkwardness, just clear, honest guidance from someone who's been in the field for decades and who genuinely wants you to feel your best. So grab a comfortable seat, maybe a cup of coffee, and stay with me, because this could be one of the most important conversations you've had in a long time, even if it's just between us. Let's start with something I hear all the time, and maybe you've heard it too. That old saying, use it or lose it. Now, there's a grain of truth in that. But like many half-truths, it's been stretched far beyond what the science supports, especially when it comes to men over 60. Here's what I mean. There's this belief floating around that if you don't ejaculate frequently, you'll lose your sexual ability, or that your prostate will start acting up. Some men are even told that they must masturbate regularly or else face all kinds of health problems. But the truth, that advice is outdated, and in some cases, it can actually do more harm than good. Let me give you a story. A few years back, a patient named Harold, 67 years old, retired, very active, came to see me. He had been following this idea that use it or lose it meant he needed to ejaculate every single day, or else he'd develop prostate cancer. That's what he read online. But what actually happened? He started feeling drained. He noticed more fatigue, lower libido, and even discomfort in his lower pelvis after a while. Why? Because the body, especially as it ages, needs recovery time. What was once effortless at 25 now has a bigger impact at 65. Hormonal shifts, slower recovery, and changes in circulation all mean that high frequency, especially without intention or awareness, can tax your system, not strengthen it. It's like this. Imagine a car engine. When it's new, you can rev it up, drive it hard, and it still hums along. But after a few decades, if you keep revving it without maintenance, without oil changes, without cooling it down, you wear out the engine fast. Your sexual function is similar. It still works. It's still valuable, but it requires care, rhythm, and respect. Masturbating out of fear rather than awareness leads some men to ignore what their body's trying to say. Now, to be clear, occasional, healthy masturbation has its benefits. It can help you stay connected to your body, improve sleep, reduce tension, and even support mood and circulation. But frequency alone isn't the magic key. It's the way you do it, the reason you're doing it, and the balance you maintain that matters most. So, what's a healthy rhythm? That depends on your body. Some men feel good a few times a week. Others feel best once a week or less. The key is listening to how you feel afterward. Do you feel drained? Or do you feel relaxed and comfortable? Are you doing it from habit or from desire? These questions matter far more than any number. Start thinking about self-pleasure like a gentle tune-up, not a race. There's no gold medal for frequency. There is a reward for being in tune with your body and making choices that truly serve your health. Now, speaking of how you do it, that's a whole different ballgame. Because the techniques most men picked up decades ago may not only be outdated, they may be slowly damaging your pelvic health. Let's get into that next. Now let's talk about something a lot of men never even think twice about: the way they masturbate. See, most of us developed our habits back in our teens or 20s when we were young, energetic, and, let's be honest, often trying to finish quickly before someone knocked on the door or walked in on us. It was all about speed, intensity, and secrecy. The problem, many of us never changed those techniques, even decades later. And now, in our 60s and 70s, those old habits are starting to catch up with us. Let me give you an example. There was a gentleman I worked with named Ray, 72 years old, generally healthy, but he came in complaining of a strange tingling feeling in his groin, some difficulty with urination, and pain that would flare up after self-pleasure. After some tests, we ruled out infections or prostate issues. What we discovered was pelvic floor dysfunction caused by years of intense, high-pressure masturbation habits. Now, that might sound strange, but it's more common than you'd think. When men use a very tight grip, a fast pace, or excessive tension in their pelvic muscles, it can create chronic strain. Over time, this can lead to something called sensory desensitization, where you stop feeling pleasure the way you used to. Worse, it can even lead to erectile issues, chronic pelvic pain, or nerve irritation, especially in the pudendal nerve, which runs through the pelvic area and controls a lot of sensation down there. One way to think about it, it's like overgripping a tennis racket or golf club for 40 years. Eventually, your wrists or forearms start to ache. Same thing here, just a different set of muscles and nerves. So, what can you do about it? Start by adjusting your technique. Loosen your grip. Slow down. Avoid clenching your pelvic muscles, especially your thighs or glutes, which many men unknowingly do during climax. Instead, focus on breathing deeply, relaxing your whole body, and paying attention to sensation, not just speed or outcome. Think of it as mindful touch. It's not just about release, it's about connection. The goal isn't to get it over with, but to stay present, enjoy the process, and avoid excess pressure that can lead to discomfort. Another tip, try switching hands occasionally, or using a lubricant to reduce friction. Some men find that using a lighter touch actually brings more pleasure and less strain. And if you're experiencing discomfort afterward, aching, tingling, numbness, or tension, that's your body telling you it needs a change. Don't ignore those signs. Address them early, and you'll preserve your sexual health for years to come. Now, while technique plays a big role, there's something else we need to talk about. Something that doesn't get nearly enough attention, but affects millions of older men. It's not physical, it's emotional. Because for many seniors, masturbation isn't just about pleasure anymore. It's become a substitute for something deeper, and that can quietly impact your overall well-being. Let's talk about that next. Let me ask you a question, and I want you to answer it honestly to yourself. Have you ever found yourself using masturbation, not because you felt desire, but because you felt lonely, or bored, or maybe just wanted to feel anything for a little while? If you said yes, you're not alone. In fact, this is one of the most common things I see in my practice. and almost no one talks about it. See, as we get older, life changes in ways we don't always expect. The kids move out, friends move away, a spouse might pass, or intimacy in a relationship might fade, and before you know it, you're spending more time alone than ever before. And while there's nothing wrong with being alone, there's a difference between being alone and feeling lonely. That's when masturbation can shift from a healthy physical release into an emotional crutch, a way to numb or escape from feelings we don't know how to handle. It's not about pleasure anymore. It's about coping. Now, don't get me wrong, there's no shame in wanting connection. Physical touch is a powerful human need. But when we use self-pleasure as a stand-in for emotional support or companionship, over time, it can actually deepen our sense of isolation. Here's what I mean. I had a patient, Alan. He was 74, widowed for 5 years, and still a very sharp, independent guy. But over time, he found himself withdrawing more and more. No dating, no social outings. He told himself he was fine, but every night, he'd use masturbation to fall asleep. Not out of desire, but out of habit, boredom, and sadness. After we talked, he realized he wasn't giving himself the real things he craved: human connection, laughter, even just a little conversation. And once he addressed those needs by joining a local walking group, calling friends more often, even seeing a therapist, his relationship with self-pleasure completely changed. It became something peaceful and balanced, not something driven by emotional emptiness. So here's what I want to offer you. Take a moment to check in with yourself. Ask, am I doing this because I want to, or because I'm feeling something I don't want to feel? There's a big difference. Try keeping a short journal for a week. Each time you self-pleasure, jot down how you felt before and after. Lonely, energized, tired, content. It's a simple practice, but it can help you spot patterns and learn whether your habit is healing you or quietly hurting you. And if you do recognize that loneliness is part of it, I want you to know there's no weakness in that. In fact, it takes strength to admit it. And there are real ways to reconnect, whether it's through friendships, community activities, spiritual support, or even professional counseling. Because here's the truth. You deserve more than just a moment of physical escape. You deserve companionship, warmth, joy even now. Maybe especially now. All right, that was a deep one. Let's lighten it up a bit as we head into our next section. Because now that we've talked about emotional balance, we need to talk about something equally important: physical safety. You'd be surprised how many older men make this next mistake, and it has everything to do with your circulation, your prostate, and even your heart. Let's break it down in the next part. One of the greatest gifts of getting older is wisdom, learning to listen to your body, not fight it. But here's the hard truth I've seen in too many men over 60. When it comes to private health, matters like masturbation, they often ignore or dismiss the early warning signs. Why? Because it's uncomfortable. Because no one ever told them what to watch for, or because they think, if something was wrong, I'd know. But here's the thing. The body doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers. And if you're not tuned in, you miss the signs until they get louder. Let me share a story. Walter, 69, came in complaining of just a little pressure in his lower abdomen and some mild discomfort during urination. Nothing terrible. But he noticed it more after self-pleasure. At first, he brushed it off, thought maybe he was just getting older. But after a few months, it became a real nuisance. We did some tests, and guess what? Early signs of prostatitis, inflammation of the prostate. Not dangerous, but definitely uncomfortable and entirely preventable. And it was being aggravated by the way and frequency of his masturbation. Once we adjusted, that gave his body some rest, introduced more gentle techniques, and treated the inflammation. His symptoms all but disappeared. The body was trying to tell him it just took him a while to listen. So what should you be looking out for? Here are a few signs that your current habits might be hurting rather than helping. Discomfort or burning after ejaculation. Pelvic or groin tension that doesn't fully relax. Tingling, numbness, or aching in the genitals. Difficulty starting or stopping urination. Erections that feel weaker or less satisfying. Increased fatigue or irritability afterward. Now, none of these automatically mean something is wrong, but they do mean your body is waving a little flag. It's asking for a change in pace, in frequency, or in technique. And here's another critical point. especially for men with heart or circulation issues. Climax, even during solo activity, temporarily raises your heart rate and blood pressure. If you've got underlying cardiovascular issues, this could cause lightheadedness, dizziness, or even shortness of breath. So if you ever feel off after climax, especially chest pressure, racing heart, or breathlessness, don't ignore it. That's not normal. Talk to your doctor. Your heart and your sexual health are deeply connected and both deserve attention. Now, this might sound like a lot of red flags, but don't worry, this isn't about fear. It's about awareness. When you're aware of your body's signals, you can make better choices. You can adjust. You can heal. That's the power of being informed. And that leads perfectly into our final key idea, because once you've recognized the physical and emotional signals, the next step is changing the script, creating a healthier, more enjoyable, and safer relationship with your body from this point forward. Let's finish strong with something positive and empowering. If you've made it this far, I want to thank you because it tells me something important. You care about your health, your happiness, and your dignity as a man. That's powerful. Now let's talk about how to move forward, because if you've been stuck in old patterns, dealing with discomfort, or even carrying shame around this topic, it's not too late to change. In fact, this is the perfect time in your life to create a new, healthier relationship with your body. The first step is this: shift the purpose of masturbation. Instead of seeing it as something purely physical or something done just out of habit or boredom, try to see it as a form of self-care, just like stretching, meditating, or walking. Something you choose to do, not something you feel compelled to do. When you give it intention, it becomes more than just a moment. It becomes a practice. Try setting the mood, not to be fancy or weird, but because creating a calming space changes your brain's relationship with the act. Soft lighting, quiet music, maybe even some light reading beforehand. All of this slows you down, helps you breathe, and keeps you present. And presence is key, especially after 60, when your nervous system is more sensitive to stress, fatigue, and overstimulation. Another thing that helps: breathing. Sounds simple, but hear me out. Most men, especially during climax, hold their breath and tense up. That's natural, but it's not always healthy. Instead, focus on breathing deeply, evenly, and fully throughout the experience. This helps your pelvic floor stay relaxed, improves blood flow, and reduces that crash feeling some men get afterward. And speaking of the pelvic floor, did you know that doing gentle pelvic exercises like Kegels can improve your experience of orgasm and reduce the risk of issues like dribbling urine or erectile fatigue? A few minutes a day can make a noticeable difference in both control and sensation. That's a simple fix many older men never hear about. But the most important part of rewriting the script: letting go of shame. For decades, men were taught that masturbation was dirty, sinful, or weak. That kind of thinking lodges itself deep in the brain. And even now in your 60s, 70s, or beyond, it can color how you feel afterward. Guilt, emptiness, a sense that you've done something wrong. My friend, let me tell you something. Your body is not shameful. Your desire is not shameful. Your need for touch, for pleasure, for closeness, even if it's with yourself, is human. Beautiful, normal. So don't beat yourself up. Don't let those old voices in your head control you. Instead, reclaim this part of your life with gentleness and pride. You've earned that. And if you're in a relationship, here's something you may not expect. Talking openly about self-pleasure with your partner can actually bring you closer. It's not a replacement for intimacy. It's a part of your personal health. Many couples over 60 find that when they stop hiding it and start sharing what makes them feel good individually, their mutual intimacy improves too. And if you're single, don't assume that chapter is closed. More and more older adults are finding connection again, whether it's through companionship, dating apps for seniors, social clubs, or just putting themselves out there again. You are not done growing. You are not done learning. And you are certainly not done feeling good in your own skin. So here's what I want you to try this week. Just one thing. The next time you self-pleasure, do it with care. No rushing, no guilt. Just 10 quiet minutes, with gentle touch and full breathing. Then afterward, ask yourself, how did that feel? Did you feel connected, peaceful, or did you notice tension or discomfort? That one small moment of awareness can start a whole new chapter. of sexual health, one that brings energy instead of fatigue, clarity instead of shame, and joy instead of habit. You deserve that. All right, that wraps up the heart of our conversation today. Before we move into the conclusion, I want to leave you with one final challenge. Try one of these tips this week and let me know in the comments how it felt. Did it make a difference? Was anything surprising? I read every comment and I'd love to hear how this is helping you. And if you think this could help someone else, maybe a friend, a brother, a support group, don't hesitate to share it. These are the conversations that change lives, one honest step at a time.